Hello, welcome to Skull RPG Podcast. My name's Dwight Skull.
My name's Jacob Skull.
And today we're going to teach you how to tell your story.
So we're going to continue with telling you about some of the resources that we've collected. This one's a little bit different since this is one of the ones we've created.
Yeah. So we have a resource that's called Tell Your Story. It's hosted on a service that's a full course. It's about 20 minutes long with a 10-page PDF, fully available for free. You can get there by going to skullrpg.com and clicking on the online courses. I'll have a link to it in our show notes / description, depending on if you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to it on a podcast. Mm-hmm. But you can get there. Also go to skullrpgbooks.vipmembervault.com to see all of our products. But one of the things there is called Tell Your Story. It's basically allows you to take your RPG skills to the next level. And what we talk about in here is basically how you can think about your entire story as a play. You can break it down into different acts and different scenes inside of an act. We've talked about this concept a lot in our podcast, but very high level. Mm-hmm. This will take the whole thing down into a kind of a very low level to help you start to think about your entire game that way. And I have some real life examples that I've used in games that I've run where I talk about a very long campaign and then breaking it down into typically three acts. And each act has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And each act is telling the story and moving the players forward. And it talks about the whole kind of concept really talks about how books work and how plays work and how you can think about your campaign in this way. And that really does help so that you actually can. I think a lot of GMs, unfortunately, might get caught into a trap where they don't know how to end their game and they might want to move on to a different type of story that they're telling, but they don't know how to get it wrapped up. Mm-hmm. This can help you get your games wrapped up. It can also help you start a new game that you know will have a beginning, a middle, and an end, so you can pull yourself out of the GM chair, hopefully, if you have more than one GM in your party. Like we have 2 and potentially 3 or 4 people trying to kind of run games for us depending on the scenario, which is nice because it gives those of us that, like myself, that do a lot of game mastering, some breaks. And if they can think about their entire game in terms of, okay, I'm going to have a storyline that's going to take 8 months, and the first 2 months is going to be this intro, but I need to have some sort of conclusion for it or some sort of climax. And so this whole thing really gives you a kind of a step-by-step way of breaking down your D&D, your Pathfinder game. It works for anything, really, but it helps you break your D&D and Pathfinder type of games for, hey, Act 1 is going to be from like levels 1 to 5, and Act 2 might be levels 6 to 10, and if you're really courageous, Act 3 might be from levels 11 to 15. And if you know that you follow a system of every level takes 3 game sessions for them to level, you would now realize that you're going to run about 45 game sessions in this entire thing. Mm-hmm. And that would mean if you were meeting weekly, you're going to run a game for 45 weeks, probably the full year because of how life works and vacations and, holidays. Mm-hmm. So this one little tip alone could help you really figure out, I'm going to be running something for the next year and how it would work. And so basically that's kind of what this freebie gives you, is just the ability to start to rethink how you might be doing your games. Not that one way is bad or another way is good. It's just more of a here's a way to think about how you could be running games. And I've found it be very helpful when I've been running my own games so that I know exactly, okay, I'm going to culminate Act 1 in this event, and that's going to open up a question like we talked about in one of our other episodes in our game session episode, like GM 101, sometimes your conclusion is a cliffhanger. Well, you want all of your acts to end on a cliffhanger except for the last act, where you're basically doing a summarization of the entire story of your characters and the entire story that you're running. And so the nice thing with this play act scene model, or this plot, subplot, action model, if you want to look at it like a book, is that you can really start to think about what major events do you need in your story, how are you going to plan them out, how are you going to get your players there, and how each game session fits to get the story moving to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's where a lot of people lose. A lot of people just have a disconnect between the campaign level and the game session level. And the piece that's really the key is the act level, where you have the like subplots or a story cycle, a story arc, and you can have 3 mini story arcs that then add up to one big story arc.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this too. Like when we had Matt on and we were doing those, we both of us came up with a game that actually followed the same, 3-act model that basically had a beginning, a middle, and then a kind of a conclusion that led you to the next act.
Yes.
So check it out. It's 100% free. Sign up for it. It's a 20-minute video and then a 10-page PDF. Really nice and simple. And we would love to hear your thoughts about it if you sign up. And we'd love for you to sign up. And you can do that by going to skullrpg.com and looking for the online courses button. Thanks. Talk to you tomorrow.
Hey, thanks for listening.
And for more resources, please go to skullrpg.com.